And we are live. I'm not live on playback, but I will be in a couple of seconds. The NBA Live Before Lock show. I am Josh Engleman. I'm joined by Eric Lindquist. We are brought to you by Better. And we did, in fact, get our final two-game slate of the season. Game 7, Pacers and Knicks. Game 7, T-Wolves and Nuggets. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. What's good, man? How's your weekend? Just kidding. I know the answer.
I am in pain, but got up nice and early. Took the dog for a walk. Wife gets back from New York, which will be good. And yeah, I'm going to be playing a little bit light because I can't really think too well at the moment. But feeling pretty good on this Sunday about my Timberwolves. Just to have a Game 7 feels good. I'm excited for that for sure.
It's going to be fun, both of these games. I mean, Indy and the Knicks are just playing to find out who gets beat by Boston. Minnesota and Denver, on the other hand, have Luka Doncic waiting for them in a couple days, which should be fun. No basketball tomorrow.
So it's a little bit strange, but at the same time, a little bit of a relief to be able to sit back for a day or two and not have to think about it too much. Yeah, I'm feeling cautiously optimistic about my Timberwolves. I think it'll be a competitive game for once. We really haven't had a lot of competitive games in either of these series of late, so hopefully that can be the case here today so that projections can win the day, because I feel pretty good about the stuff that I'm looking at here in The Sims.
How's golf going for you?
Golf's good. Yesterday played pretty good. Not like personally, not personal actual Eric golf. DFS golf, I'm losing about half my entry fees right now, so about like a standard week. Yeah. I have a lot of Shane Lowry, so that was good yesterday. I was getting absolutely blitzkrieged. And I'm heavy on Xander too. It's just, you kind of need the other four pieces to come along for the ride. So have a lot of Xander, have almost no Robert McIntyre cheering against him, have zero Victor Hovland cheering against him. Shane Lowry winning would be the best case scenario for me. How about you?
I did not play golf. I can confidently say that you named one person there, and I don't know that person.
Robert McIntyre.
Yeah, that's not a guy.
That's a real person. I generally play a lot of him, just not in majors. He's like he's a Scottish dude who plays in like all of like the bottom tier tour events, even though he was on the Ryder Cup team. He's a top 50 player in the world, and basically most people are like you. He's a lefty that just people have never heard of because he looks like he looks like a regular dude out there playing golf, and it's weird that he's as good as he is.
Can't be trusting those lefties.
Nope, they are satanic.
They are. Shout out to my wife. Lefty or righty, though. She's not hitting a golf ball anywhere, so that also doesn't matter at all. You want to talk about this slate?
Yeah, let's take a look.
All right, here we go, folks. Diving in. Nikola Jokic is $11,300. Jalen Brunson is the next closest guy to him at $9,500. So that is a savings of $1,800. Anthony Edwards right there with Jalen Brunson at $9,400, and then Tyrese Halliburton bringing up the rear at $8,500. So I ask you, who is your preferred pay-up option today?
My highest owned player, Nikola Jokic.
Yes, that's the smart way to do it today, since he should be a winner in Game 7 at home.
Yeah. Why? Right off the bat, why?
Have to. Got to rep my boy.
Well, just saying. My thing is that, think about this from a Game 7 minutes certainty perspective. Do you see any world where Nikola Jokic, if they're down 20 or up 20 in the fourth quarter inside of 5 minutes, is still not out on the floor? I don't see that scenario. We saw only one game since Game 1 here in this series in which he has played more than 39 minutes, that being a more competitive-ish Game 5 that they had at home, put the gauntlet down. We saw the 40 spot from Jokic. It was beautiful stuff, but Jokic today, I put him in for 42 minutes. I don't see how you do anything different where, again, this is like the one game to rule them all, one game to find them, and as such, don't you just ramp up some of the minutes for some of these dudes? And when you do that for Jokic, it does silly things. So at 11-3, I'm willing to make all the sacrifices I need to play 60, 70% of this guy.
He looks great at the top. I have him grading out as my number one dude. I think Brunson is bringing in proper ownership as the
Yep,
most exposed guy at the top, just because I think that salary is really beneficial for him today. As I look at my exposures, there is no pay up option in more of my lineups than Nikola Jokic. I want to get there. The fact that they're playing at home is massive. The fact that they lost game 6 actually makes me feel better.
agreed.
Tend to zig and zag back into them being at home in game 7. I love seeing my exposures. My two most exposed guys, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, are Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. If I'm
Yep.
going to think that the Nuggets win the game, those two guys are probably going to have to be pretty good for that to happen. I couldn't be happier to see those guys be my most exposed guys.
Agreed. It's not even that because obviously I don't want them to win the game, but
Sure.
I find it very likely that both play 40 plus minutes in almost all
Yeah.
scenarios. Like there's almost zero runouts for this game where they don't play 40 plus minutes. Wouldn't you agree with that? Like foul trouble has to be the only way.
Yeah, if this is competitive, they are both playing 40 minutes today. No doubt about it.
And that makes 7,500 Jamal Murray. He is my third highest owned player right now in 55% of my lineups. So I'm a Timberwolves fan. I really don't give a shit when it comes to DFS. I'm just trying to play best projected, try to get the Sims tool to tell me what I need to know. And that's that Jokic, Hartenstein, and Murray are three really, really good plays, and I should have tons of them.
Couldn't agree more. What do you want to do with Tyrese Halliburton? Because he's sort of, I mean, Ant to a degree, 21% ownership coming into Ant, 15 to Tyrese Halliburton. How do we handle those two guys who are sort of like a path to way more uniqueness?
I think Siakam's my path to probably
Okay.
getting some Pacers exposure, and it has to do more with the fact that he's 1,100 less, and he has one higher PRA in the industry right now than that of Tyrese Halliburton. Now, the ownership is still something to factor in. We're talking
Yeah.
about a 15% owned Tyrese Halliburton relative to a Pascal Siakam at 35%, but the positionality, multi-positional eligibility, small forward, power forward there. Point guard with Jamal Murray is just looking great. I think Jalen Brunson needs to be one of your highest owned players in some capacity as well. Like you're not full fading Jalen Brunson in the Garden in a game 7 against the Pacers where all the usage and all the land is going his direction. He's going to be out there for every single human possible minute. And I think you should just have lots of him as well. But like point guard is kind of valuable because of how much Jamal Murray Brunson I have. And as such, Tyrese Halliburton just has to get squeezed relative to those two when you look around the prop industry.
Yeah, right now I'm getting to 4% of Halliburton. I'm getting to 16% of Anthony Edwards. They just don't look as good as Jalen Brunson and Jokic. Not that they can't succeed, but I just have I think Halliburton in like the grand scheme of things feels underrepresented, but I also don't find his ownership to be wrong. It just when I look at it, old school me looks at Halliburton's ownership and thinks, well, that's the guy that I should be getting to today. It just doesn't happen to be the output from The Sims for me right now. I
It's
don't
the
agree
perfect way
with
of
that, but I
explaining it.
like it.
Yeah, it's the perfect way of explaining it. We get in a habit of talking about things in the boom bust tool or years of looking at ownership and being like, well, if everybody's going to zig, I'm going to zag, I'm going to play Halliburton. But as I run everything here, I have so many other ways to zag on this slate, and it comes down to some of these players at the bottom. Somebody in a game 7 today is going to score a lot more fantasy points than projected.
Yeah.
And some of these sub 5K players, TJ McConnell pulling a lot of ownership, Neesmith pulling a ton of ownership at the moment, and Andrew Nemhard pulling the most ownership out of everybody in this bottom end. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. We'll talk about Obi Toppin, 3,900. Like there's some guys down here, but somebody's going to fall through the cracks. And I feel better intertwining some of those pieces than I do what feels like virtual certainties in terms of minutes for Jokic, Brunson, and Jamal Murray. And Jamal Murray because of the price tag, and then Jokic and Brunson because of the raw fantasy point projection. It just makes it so hard to land on Halliburton for me.
Yeah, I think we're on the exact same page here. You mentioned Siakam earlier, I wanted to just take a look at that 7K range. You have Hart at 7,800, making his return off of whatever that abdominal injury is. Murray, Siakam, Towns at 7,200, and then Dante DiVincenzo at 7K. Are you looking at that range any differently other than Siakam? Do you have a standout option there? It is Murray for me.
Yeah, it's Murray for me. It's Karl Anthony Towns too, but he's already got that ownership attached to him. So I'm a tiny bit light on him. He's 40% owned. I'm sitting right around where the optimal percentage is at 30% of my lineups out of 40. And Dante DiVincenzo, it has to look worse with now Josh Hart being in and now adding OG Anunoby for what those minutes can look like. I will say what I think is one of the more fascinating parts of this slate is Josh Hart and OG Anunoby.
Yeah.
Will one of them see more minutes than what we think, or is Josh Hart healthier than what we think? Because right now we are definitely downgrading him with the emergence of, well, not the emergence of, just the re-entry of OG Anunoby. And then 7,800 is definitely a price tag that is hefty because of what he's been able to do. But as you look around the prop industry for him as well, it gets it really, like for me, it's just really hard to get to a Josh Hart at 26.5 PRA at 7,800, unless somehow, some way we see him play more. OG Anunoby's 18.5, but that's definitely pulling and stripping away a little bit of that production. I'm assuming they're both guys that if Tibbs had his way would play 48 minutes today. I just don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to say, like, it's easier for me to look at Josh Hart and OG Anunoby and say I should get to more of them because of their ownership than Tyrese Halliburton. But when we're talking about this 7K range, there's no doubt that Jamal Murray and Pascal Siakam just look exponentially better to me. And Pascal Siakam, it's a little bit of a positionality thing, small forward, power forward. I'm not getting to the kind of ant that I would like to as a Timberwolves fan, but again, I'm here to make money, and it's just not showing up as much as what I was anticipating it to. I am not really there on Dante DiVincenzo, even though there's positive leverage on him. And that's frustrating, but I'm kind of willing to live with the result of it because it is a game 7. And I'm not saying it's a likely outcome, but Miles McBride has played really good basketball for them in the last 2. And or specifically last game, he was kind of a bright spot for them. Dante DiVincenzo, not saying it's likely he gets ripped off the floor, but they've done that. They did that in the previous series when OG and Hart were both out there. So maybe Dante DiVincenzo isn't knocking down shots, McBride is, and that ends up being a little bit of a switch. But I just find it hard to get to 26% Dante DiVincenzo today with everybody back.
I always get to DiVincenzo, so that's happening, but not in the crazy way that I normally do. I have 40%. I did bet the alt unders on OG Anunoby. I took his under in points, rebounds, assists, and points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and 3-pointers made.
That's going to be fun. Did you single game parlay those?
Yeah.
Oh,
like
let's go.
18-1 or something like that.
I don't know what the minutes are. I mean, nobody knows.
Look, he could get hurt in 2 seconds. Like, if I just need him to step on the floor. If it loses, it loses. But, like, I think the downside scenario is everything is downside. And the worst case, like, if he's able to play the whole game, then fine. Like, I don't care if I lose all of the legs. It doesn't matter. But I think, like, as one wins, they all start to win.
It's like Royce Lewis for my Minnesota Twins, where he turns first base. After he hits a home run, then hits a single, goes from second to third, just rips his hamstring again. Like, there's some guys that just run really, 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 really bad with this stuff. Yeah. We see it with running backs all the time. See it with other guys. This is really sketchy. I think you're kind of like, we're going to have a minutes of projection. I didn't see. Let me see what we have as the exact minutes projection. You're going to have that attached to the guy. For me, I have him for 34 minutes. I don't know what we have going on here. Let me find this, but I could see 4 or I could see 48. Isn't that insane to think that there's like a legitimate range of outcomes of the entire game for a single player?
He's going to play as much as his body will allow him to play until it just explodes.
Do you think Tibbs gives a shit though?
No, not at all.
He absolutely doesn't. Hey, yo, I escaped you from the depths of Toronto. You're playing. Go.
Not to mention, Anunoby doesn't care because he knows the Knicks are about to give him a bag in the offseason either way. So he's like, yeah, I'll throw everything at it. You guys we're already in agreement on whatever this is going to be. So
we're dance partners. There's nothing you can do.
Well, the most important thing that I think people can do today is figure out who will be today's exotic play of the day. We've got a 2-game slate here. The exotic play of the night is back. And now it's time to figure out who that is going to be. So, Eric, I ask you, who is the exotic play of the day? I'm scrolling down. I got mine.
You already got yours.
Easy.
Oh, easy for you? Easy? I mean, I see. I knew we were going to get the video going. I knew Mike Lawrence wasn't going to miss out on that. He don't miss. There he is. There he is. So exotic.
Joe Exotic. That's you.
I'm never going to emotionally recover from this. Nikola Jokic. There's no way. He's 70% of my lineups. He's my highest owned player. 42 minutes of Jokic interests you? The guy never gets in foul trouble. He never gets hurt. These are just like immune things for him for some reason. Maybe it's just because he has a 2-inch vertical. Maybe it's because he just, finds ways of, having people bounce off of his like gangly little arms. But my God, he's a massive human being who is going to play massive minutes. And he's so ridiculously better than every other option on the slate, Nikola Jokic. Exotic play and going to be, I won't make him Nuke of the night. I have something else wrapped up for that.
Okay, so I don't disagree with your Nikola Jokic selection, but I'm not going to take him because that is too easy. You got the team right. You got the player wrong.
Oh, my God. Christian Braun, really?
While he might be brown to you guys, he is the white of the night tonight. Christian Braun, come on down. You have been selected as today's white of the night. Oh, so good. Man. So good.
Derek White of the night. Christian Braun. Yeah, Christian Braun's awesome. I was tempted to make him Nuke of the night, so now we're not going to make him Nuke of the night. What was it last slate? I had 0% Michael Porter Jr. Felt pretty good about that. Well, it ended up just being a wild single game slate as it is. But I am with you. Christian Braun is probably my favorite sub. Did John Birdie just hit a home run for the Yankees? That is so tilting. Whatever. Anywho, I'm with you. 3,500 for him. Michael Porter Jr. so at risk in a game 7 of getting ripped off the floor. Like, this could be like a third quarter ripping off the floor if he is not guarding everybody correctly.
Oh my God, I cannot believe that I just went Christian Braun white of the night. I love it. He's in 52% of my stuff right now. Had a positive player ROI when I ran the Sims. 19% owned, 3,500. Great value. Going to be out there. Seems to be one of the only bench guys that the Nuggets trust right now.
I have 30%. I'll give him a little boosty. A little boosty boost.
There we go.
That's what I'm talking about. Boost. KCP I had a zillion of as well before, but I don't mind that as well. What do you think? Well, we'll talk about the value later, I suppose, but we got plenty of time.
Well, then let's keep it moving and hit on the one question we knew we had to do today. Ace of Spades. Time for tiers. Jokic, Brunson, Halliburton, Edwards. Let me guess. Nikola Jokic?
That's probably a good choice.
Murray, Towns, Siakam, Hart.
Murray.
I would agree with Murray. Gobert, Turner, Gordon, DiVincenzo, and Hartenstein.
Let's see what I had there.
I've got DiVincenzo here.
Hartenstein for me.
Okay. MPJ, Mike Conley, TJ McConnell, Aaron Nesmith, Precious Achua, Miles McBride.
Mike Conley.
MPJ for me.
Do not have any MPJ today.
Naz Reid, Andrew Nembhard, KCP, Obi Toppin, Jaden McDaniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Alec Burks.
Andrew Nembhard.
I would agree. Andrew Nembhard. McDaniel's a close second. And then you've got everybody else, basically. Slow-mo, Reggie Jackson, Christian Braun, but it is Christian Braun.
Yeah, Christian Braun by a lot, it looks.
So shout out Ace of Spades for the tiers. This is the final tiers, I would imagine, right? No más tiers.
That makes me sad. That makes me sad to think about. But you know what, Ace of Spades? This has been a recurring thing because of you. We appreciate you. Anytime somebody can filter themselves into our program and make something built in, it offers a little bit of predictability for us and might not seem like a lot. And it might be annoying to some people who are like, oh, I'm not playing tiers. Why do I have to listen to this? We, as people who do the show, appreciate you because we know we get to do it every single time. We know that we're going to be able to fill up time on a 2-game slate, even, on slates that we might not otherwise cover. So this entire 6-month period since you've been asking that question, we got to say thank you so much.
And we also want you guys to sign up for Odd Shopper. I don't have a free Scotty promo for you guys any longer. That is gone. It only lasted a day, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't sign up for Odd Shopper. Take a market-based approach to beating the books and the pick'em sites. You get expected value and expected win rate. KCP under 2.5 assists, -135 at Bet365 is sitting out there right now with the highest Odd Shopper rating of any bet that's available to you. Aaron Gordon, less than 0.5 threes at +160 is knocking on the door, though. Both of those plays significantly high value plays. In particular, that Aaron Gordon play on DraftKings, 9.9% expected value. You don't want to sleep on it. We have parlay builders, odds boost calculators, optimizers for the pick'em sites, a brand new live odds tool that has a ton of advanced data that you can get into. We're adding more and more features every day. We've got a lot in the hopper that are going to be coming out that people are going to really freak out about. It's a perfect opportunity to sign up for Odd Shopper. Do it right now by clicking the link in chat. What are your favorite GPP plays? Where are you getting your leverage?
I am getting my leverage. Let me just sort it. Isaiah Hartenstein, I have in 65% of my lineup, so 20% leverage on him. Andrew Nembhard, sitting right there at the field, 50%. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope right around the field there. All right, let's get to the guy that I'm pretty positive that is going to just absolutely obliterate me today. What do you think about Nickeil Alexander-Walker today?
Nickeil Alexander-Walker is 25% owned. I have 58.
There we go. So that's what I'm talking about. That's what Maryland does. He's my highest leverage relative to ownership. So it's a sub 4K piece. It's like him and Christian Brown. I don't see how you don't like both of them. They've just been phenomenal pieces to intertwine in lineups, and like Andrew Nembhard already pulling the ownership. Some of those mid 4K pieces. Jade McDaniels already pulling the ownership in the same game. There's a lot of ways Nickeil Alexander-Walker plays more minutes. There's a lot of ways Christian Brown plays more minutes. It feels pretty easy when I want to get to as much Brunson and Jokic as possible to get to some sub 4K pieces that are certainly in the rotation and have a minutes upside. So I think both of them kind of fall into that category. Brown is playing 18% ownership. I'm a little bit, again, I had 30% before. I'm going to rerun some stuff here as well. I gave him a little bit of an ROI boost so that I'll get to some more. But Nickeil Alexander-Walker is my highest owned play, my most leveraged play in my lineups currently.
Jamal Murray is at the top of that list for me. Jokic is third. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is fourth. Obi Toppin is number 2 for me. 3,900 now, 36% owned. I like the value proposition in this spot, that's for sure. And if Josh Hart and OG Anunoby are going to be out there but are in any way limited, I think that's pretty good for the springy nature of Obi Toppin on the offensive side. So he's my bigger stand. Christian Brown is showing up 5th for me. So we've already talked about him as my white of the night. But Obi Toppin, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, that's where I'm going for value. So we're at least in. Are you getting to Obi Toppin?
No.
Okay. Well, at least we're on the same page for Nickeil Alexander-Walker. That seems to be working.
Hey, we found one.
We did.
We found one.
Did.
I have 5% Obi Toppin.
Okay.
So yeah, that's going to be when I go to 4. Let me do this quick. 4 and top 40. He is in 4% of my lineups.
Okay.
So one. We're going for 1 lineup.
Hartenstein, by the way, I'm also quite a bit over the field on, but he's 40% owned. So that is a relatively chalky stand. Are you seeing anybody else? Because that's really my list of huge stands. I'm either around the field or I have some pretty substantial fades.
Yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Again, it is all Jokic. It is a lot of Brunson. It is a lot of Jamal Murray. I'm nervous about the fact that I have none in terms of Anthony Edwards. It's my guy. It's my dude. And he's obviously what I'm cheering for tonight. But From a DFS perspective, would prefer it's a Karl Anthony Towns game.
Okay. Well, I think that probably covers the flex plays. So I got to ask you then, we need to know who the ultimate your ultimate GPP play is for today. We have a name for it. It's the guy that blows your ding dong off your body. Who is today's Nuke of the night? Excited to see it. I know mine. I don't think people are going to like it, but I need to know who yours is. So what do you got? Nuke of the night. Look at it on the screen, blowing off that ding dong.
Bing, bang, boom. Goodbye. There, it disappeared. Look, I am a big fan of my Minnesota Timberwolves. I have waited 20 years for a meaningful series. I got a meaningful series. We got a series win. It already feels better than it's ever felt as a Minnesota Timberwolves fan in my lifetime. And yet, I just find $7,500 to be egregious for Jamal Murray in a closeout game 7 at home in Denver. Him and Jokic have been in this situation before. I'm just jamming Jokic. And then the price tag, it's got a 25.96% boom percentage. Just a ridiculous mid-range type play to pair along with Jokic. And those are really the two guys that I'm just jamming from that game. They've got the experience, and I'm willing to go down with the ship in a pretty meaningful way. So, yeah, he's in 56% of my lineups. Jamal Murray, your Nuke of the night.
Well, looks like the bomb landed on both of us, even though we're on opposite coasts. Jamal Murray, come on down. Nuke of the night. 78% of my lineups right now, the most positive leverage I have on anybody. I'm hoping and praying that Denver wins the game. And if they
Shut up. No, you don't feel that way. No, you don't.
I sure do. I sure do.
You don't.
And if they're going to win, it's going to come on the back of a big Jamal Murray day. If he doesn't play well, I don't think Denver can win this game. So
I think they can.
Jamal Murray,
I still think they can. I think Aaron Gordon has shown enough. I mean, Aaron Gordon was a special basketball player in Orlando, had so many different traits that, I mean, that really was a huge trade for this franchise that doesn't get talked about enough, and I don't know why. Aaron Gordon, if he is playing active and doing the stuff that he can do, like he's kind of the Timberwolves neutralizer. Let me actually go in and look, because I would think that every single game that Denver's won in this series has been a big Aaron Gordon game. Aaron Gordon.
I feel like he had anything big in the first, in 3 and 4.
All right.
Or at least 3.
Yeah, you're right. Game 3, they won by 27, though. A little bit of blowout action. And yeah, Jamal Murray looked really, really good there in that one. But then 51, he ends up going completely nuts. 11 for 12 from the field. Just absolutely flawless victory, if you will. And then the game 5, he was amazing again. He was the best player for Denver on the floor outside of Jokic, because, I mean, I'm not going to ever say that he's better than Jokic, even if Jokic doesn't play well. But he puts up 34 fantasy points in 28 minutes. He played actually good for a team that only put up 70 points there in that spot. He was a bright spot. Aaron Gordon has been incredible in this series. Now, I'm with you where I think Jamal Murray is extremely important. I don't think they can get a flat 0 out of Jamal Murray and be successful here, but Aaron Gordon has played so well, that I think there's a chance that they could still win with Jamal Murray putting up like whatever that game was against the Lakers where he hit the corner, the jumper in AD's face. He played absolutely atrocious in that entire game. Like, they could probably get away with it if Aaron Gordon just has one of those patented Aaron Gordon games.
Wouldn't be surprised if he did it. I just need it to be Murray. How much Gordon do I have?
I have 37% Gordon, and that's out of my top 150, so I got to trim it down.
I have 26, so right around the field. So nothing too crazy there.
I'm a little over.
I want all good games, obviously, from Denver, and no good games from Minnesota.
Y'all think OG and Hart finished the game? I have no fucking clue, man. If I did, I would be betting every prop in the over or the under direction. I have no idea. Again, it's almost like foolish to talk about. If you have a feeling that they're going to play more, play tons of them, because nobody's playing them.
The other thing that you can do, guys, if you want, is to sign up at Better. You can get your first deposit doubled up to $500. They've got 100x payouts. We mentioned Odds Shopper before. You can build out every single bit of your cards at better via Odds Shopper. You can just use the optimizer if you want. It won't take you long at all. You can just sit on the Odds Shopper screen with the auto refresh on, and every time something new pops up, you can take advantage. It's that easy. They cover every sport that you could possibly want to deal with: NFL, NBA, MLB, hockey. You can get there across the board. No pushes. You don't ever have to worry about anything like that. Every pick counts. Every decision matters as you strive for victory. Yeah, I read that verbatim out of the read. The legal age for gambling in most places is 21 or over. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. But you should, before you do anything, take advantage of that $500 deposit match bonus.
No excuses, play like a champion.
Exactly. Who's not going to play like a champion today? Who are we fading?
Oh my God. So we are on a little bit opposite ends. I can't remember who that was that we were talking about before. I have 0 Michael Porter Jr. So he's 26 and change owned. We haven't seen a lot of elimination games where, I mean, last year Christian Brown was a rookie. They had Bruce Brown. There were ways MPJ, like, they didn't necessarily, but he played pretty well throughout that playoff run. 2 years ago, we saw a lot of MPJ getting ripped off the floor for defensive inefficiencies. I think if I'm going to play a ton of Christian Brown, like you and I are both planning on doing, having 0 and taking a big stance against Michael Porter Jr. is a way I'll do it. I also have 0% Rudy Gobert.
Ooh.
I don't know how this happened. He's 6,400, 33% owned, but I'm looking at my top 50 lineups and I have 0 of him. What happened to have Rudy Gobert fall down this far down the totem pole?
I'm under the field, but I have a little bit more than that. That's for sure. Halliburton, Nembhard, Neesmith, Siakam, Turner. So normal Indy lineup.
Okay, and we saw the Knicks. They said that OG is going to start.
Yeah.
So will Josh Hart. Not surprising.
So we're going to get Brunson, DiVincenzo, Hart, Anunoby, Hartenstein.
Correct.
Right now, my biggest fade is Andrew Nembhard. He had a pretty big game 6. Makes me feel a little bit better about not getting him in game 7. He's also 50% owned, so crossing my fingers on that one. My second biggest fade, though, is the one that really makes me gulp. Jalen Brunson.
Wow.
Which in that case makes me wish that I had more of, this is another situation where like I'd like to have more Tyrese Halliburton. If I'm not going to get to Brunson, it's kind of just telling me that I'm not going to be getting to the, like, I don't like the Knicks then. But gotcha. I am half the field of the 58% owned Jalen Brunson.
Scary. I am not going to be doing that. So again, I'm going down into the sub 4K range with the Nickeil Alexander-Walker and the Brown. I think it's pretty easy for me to get to some Brunson, get to all the Jokic that I want, who's going to be in more than 70% of my lineups now. So that's enjoyable to see that come up here as I boosted. I can't remember who had me boost. It was, yeah, Christian Brown. I literally went from 30 to 45% of him. And now I'm just jamming Jokic apparently, because if I'm taking up a guy who's sub 4K, it's just going to give me more exposure to the highest projected player on the slate.
Other fades for me. Towns, which I could handle. I don't trust him in a game 7 that matters. He can make me rue those words.
Oh my God.
And then KCP,
please.
But I'm more than okay being light on KCP if I'm going to have as much Christian Brown as I do. Like that, to me, that seems like a flip-flop of their ownership, and I think that looks pretty good. But nobody else is extreme. It's Nembhard, it's Brunson, it's Towns, and KCP. Those 4 are the main 4.
Yeah, I guess there's context attached to it, where if you're playing one lineup, obviously you're going to fade a lot of people. You're going to fade a lot of people. If you're making 3 lineups, you're going to probably end up fading a lot of people. But when you're building 20 max, 150 max, it's pretty hard for me to look at the board today and be like, oh, I am vehemently against, a majority of the guys. Like, obviously, the Gobert thing freaks me out a little bit. I'm under on Obi Toppin as well, who's pulling a ton of ownership. That was the other guy that I think we were pretty different on.
Yeah.
I am way under. Yeah, Michael Porter Jr. and Rudy Gobert, 6K and 6,400. If this was a regular season game, they would be 2 of the most popular plays on a 2-game slate with those tags attached to them. But this is not a regular season game. This is a postseason situation where there's a minutes downside, and just their projection. I mean, Rudy Gobert, 33. Michael Porter Jr., 28 and change here at Stochastic today. More than happy to be below it. I mean, the boom percentage on Michael Porter Jr. is far, far lower than we've seen on a lot of these guys. What, 5.66%? There's a real opportunity that Michael Porter Jr. is not out there in crunch time, because it's happened now twice. So, and twice in the competitive games, that is. Michael Porter Jr. not closing. Christian Brown being opted for it. So just going to go with that, roll with it, feel pretty good about it.
Want to shout out, I don't think I did this, but shout out to Chris Williams for gifting 5 memberships in YouTube chat. That's always great to see. And then Pierre hit us with a super chat. Favorite plays at each position on FanDuel.
Yes, we could do that.
Let's take a peek.
I didn't even crunch anything on FanDuel for what it's worth.
I'm just pulling up the Boom Bust tool right now.
Yeah.
Which is in the midst of updating.
Power forward still. He is power forward eligibility. That is useful. Useful, I tell you. Yeah, 1 minute ago it updated.
Yeah, I'm trying to get that optimal and ownership columns to refresh, but they're not refreshed yet.
Okay. I mean,
at center, I think it's 2 options. I think it's Jokic and it's Isaiah Hartenstein, and you got to have one of those 2 guys. And it's probably Jokic.
Well, you have power forward eligibility on Hartenstein on FanDuel, which has been like a
I'm on DraftKings
thing.
Very true.
Yep.
I was on the DraftKings tab. I was like, I don't think that's true. Well, that changes everything that I just said then. There we go. We have optimal now too.
Beautiful.
Most optimal play on FanDuel is Isaiah Hartenstein. That power forward eligibility helping out. So you're definitely playing him there. Looks like you're going to get to Brunson and probably Jamal Murray at the point. Aaron Nesmith seems like he's a pretty good guarantee for the small forward spot. Michael Porter Jr. does grade out very similarly to Nesmith at small forward, power forward. What else are you looking at?
Looking at, I mean, DiVincenzo has that positive leverage. It's the exact same thing I talked about over on DK. I just still doubt I would be getting there. Jaden McDaniels, 4,800, pretty advantageous. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, only $100 away from his DK tag. I would really be looking at being overweight to 32 and change on Nickeil Alexander-Walker based on my DK lineups. And then you've got a couple of these guys that are pulling absolutely no ownership. OG Anunoby's 5,900 over on FanDuel.
Yeah,
I think if you are of the mind that OG Anunoby is going to play a lot more than what is projected, or you think that he is live to play like the entire game, if you really needed to have exposure to OG Anunoby today, get it on FanDuel. Defensive specialist there, 5.5% ownership on DK at 5,800, but 5,900, the far more advantageous price tag to be getting to, just to how the salaries work from site to site. He is pulling more ownership, but I almost don't care. He's still, if he's going to play more over there, I think just a more valuable play to take shots on FanDuel.
We made our way through this slate pretty easily, which I'm not surprised by. This is the 7th time that we've talked about both of these series, so there's not a lot left to like hypothesize. They're both going to throw everything they can at it. Whatever gets hot is going to get to play a little bit more in a game 7. You kind of just have to talk about the best sort of salary situations and hope for the best. Chris Williams hit us with the super chat. Figured I would super chat this for the people, since countless people are asking in chat. What are your thoughts on Naz Reid?
I think it's tough. I have him in my single entry lineup right now at 4,200. We hadn't talked about him. I saw that people were bringing it up in chat. One thing we've done is kind of cover these bottom end dudes, like the cheapies, if you will, to round out the show a little bit more. I wanted to ask Josh a little bit about Isaiah Jackson and his potential of like only getting 1 rotation in this game. That's what's really, really hard about this is in a game 7, Naz Reid doesn't get the leash, if you will, to not knock down shots, to not be effective. Like, he's going to be a prominent piece for this team going forward.
Yeah.
For one game against Denver, it's going to be a little bit game script dependent. Obviously, 4,200 bakes in a price that is positively leveraged. If we're going to see 21% of him there, he's 26% optimal. He's fine. I will say that out of everybody that I'm looking at in this lineup, he's the guy that I'm the least excited about. He just kind of fits into lineups at 4,200. better than other. Like I'm just looking at like other power forwards. I don't have the $100 to get to McDaniels, or I would play McDaniels. I don't have let's see, I don't have $200 to get to Nemhard. Nemhard's not in my single entry lineup. So it's almost like he's just showing up in that lineup, specifically my top projected lineup, purely because of the salary. And sure, there's a minutes upside. He gives me lower ownership on a play. I'm looking at other spots too, where he's maybe a little bit lower owned than the 21%, but I just don't have a great grasp of it, but I don't know how anybody could. It's going to go the range of like 17 to 26 minutes. We've seen Karl Anthony Towns get in foul trouble guarding Jokic. We've seen Gobert be somewhat ineffective or them need more offense. I think it's hard to talk about it. We've seen this play out now 6 games. We've had a lot of blowouts at the same time that we've seen some competitive stuff. There's just in a game 7 so much more uncertainty for a play like Naz Reid that it's hard for me to talk about.
Beef Squatch hit us with the member message and said, "Hey there, Greg. Happy birthday." That seems like it's not for this show. And Chris Ostro said, "Hey guys, favorite FanDuel showdown lineup." Which game?
Yeah, which game? Is there even one available for the next Pacers game? Let me pull it up. Damn, that answer cost $5. What do you mean? What do you want me to tell him? Do you want me to bullshit him and say that I absolutely know what to do with Naz Reid? I don't know. And I will say some of it might actually have to do with what happens in the first game, like late swapping around. Like if nobody goes off in that sub 4,500, sub 5K spot in the first game, I'll feel pretty good about having Naz Reid in that lineup. I'm
still waiting to find out which FanDuel showdown.
Yeah, they have one for both. They have one for both games. So
Vince, KCP or Toppin, no site given. That could have been answered at the Stochastic Player Compare Tool for $0 because the Stochastic Player Compare Tool is free. Ask all of your 1v1s and 2v2s with the exact same information that we are going to give you, but for free from stochastic.com. Browse directly to the tools section and go to Player Compare.
I have KCP for what it's worth, by the way. So
I have Obi Toppin.
Okay, cool.
Let's see. What else we got? No response yet. Oh, for Knicks Pacers. Okay.
Chop.
I'm going to run the sim and take whatever's the number 1 lineup.
That's what I just did. Single entry there. All right. Boy, am I nervous, by the way. I'm 99% sure that somehow, some way, Minnesota sports are going to find a new way to disappoint me, but I suppose I can't be too upset. We're probably ahead of schedule as a team as is. And is 22 years old. Karl Anthony Towns is starting to be, a player that I've always wanted him to be, which is our second best player. I never wanted him to have to be the guy come a playoff series we needed to do everything. I guess what freaks me out is it's like the window does close with Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Jaden McDaniels we have under contract forever, so that'll be fine. I don't know. I have no idea what our offseason looks like, but I almost don't care yet.
Well, your offseason is going to be fine. It's just going to make the team worse, and you're going to have no chance moving forward. It's very simple. Karl Anthony Towns is going to go play in New York or something, and yeah, they're going to cut $25 million off salary off of their team.
Why are you the way that you are?
I'm just telling you what's going to happen. I'm not saying I want that to happen, but they're going to cut salary. This team's not going to.
How many minutes for McBride? I did not project him for a whole hell of a lot today relative to other games. I have him for 25 minutes.
My number 1 FanDuel showdown lineup is Brunson, Hartenstein, DiVincenzo, Achua, Nesmith.
Only one Pacer in there?
Yes. Aaron Nesmith.
Fun. That's fun. Yeah, and like the most predictably efficient and consistent player that is Aaron Nesmith, right?
Yeah, it always goes well. We still have 14 minutes to go, folks. We're going to be able to hit a lot of questions. They're not going to be 1v1s and 2v2s. You guys can take those directly to the player compare tool. But if you have some bigger holistic thoughts about this slate or questions you want to have asked and answered, please hit us up.
Oh my God.
For anybody that's worried about Alec Burks today, Alec Burks is useless.
0 minutes.
Unless you are confident that OG Anunoby and or Josh Hart get hurt. Those are the only situations.
I have Alec Burks for 0 minutes.
I gave him 6.
That was nice of you.
Yeah, he is full stop unplayable unless you think that the two guys that are hurt aren't going to play.
That would be bad for me. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
It'd be very, 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 very bad for me.
And like, even if one of them gets hurt, I don't necessarily I'm not going to Alec Burks. You need them both gone.
Yep.
It's the only way that this one's going to shake out any different.
Yep. Good talk. Glad everybody had it.
Yeah.
Now you're going to get 14 minutes of 1v1s and 2v2s. Yeah, it'll be kind of funny. Is Achua still in the rotation? Yes. I think Precious Achua is still somebody that you are putting in for a decent share of minutes. I have him for 16. I'm not sure what Josh has.
I went 17.
Yeah. I will say also, like, if there was somebody...
No, that's not true. I went 20. My apologies. I looked at the wrong line.
You have him for a lot more than I do. I think Precious is one of those guys. You look at the people around him. You have Neesmith, who is projected for a lot more. Nembhard, who's projected for a lot more. I prefer Naz Reid, Jaden McDaniels, KCP. Those are all guys with the certainty in the minutes there. Precious Achua still needs some type of things to go his way. I know that he's played, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive games, 22 more minutes. With OG back, it is really hard to envision a scenario where I see him playing more than 22 minutes again without something significantly bad happening to Hartenstein and or OG Anunoby.
Yeah, I just they still need a backup center. Anything can happen to Isaiah Hartenstein. They can play both guys together if something happens to OG Anunoby. So there's still a very nice, there's a path for Precious Achua at this point. There's much different path for Precious Achua than there is for Alec Burks.
That is correct.
Let's see what else we got. We're getting a lot of Ben Shepherd questions.
Ben Shepherd's points prop. Do you want to just guess it blindly, Josh?
3.5.
That's exactly what it is. So look at you go. It's almost like you did the work. So Ben Shepherd is a dude, but you have to know that it's just a low outcome 2-game slate special trying to get different. And maybe he walks into 3 threes, 4. You're probably going to need a decent allotment out of him because of how many of these sub 4,500 guys are just getting way more minutes. Like, there are way more minutes on tap for Nembhard, McDaniels, Naz Reid, Obi Toppin. Well, maybe not Obi Toppin. Depends. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Christian Brown. I don't think Ben Shepherd's the dude who I'm scared to have none of right now. Ask me after his first rotation. But Ben Shepherd is 3,100. I would really be looking at zeroing that out and just saying, all right, this is my path to having Brunson plus Jokic plus Edwards, or Jokic plus Brunson plus just like getting all the raw points. And if you just land on the build where Shepherd can get you like 12, sweet. Sounds great, but not going to be for me today.
We are looking at 9 minutes to go until lock, folks. This is going to be your final 2-game slate of the NBA season. I wish there wasn't such a huge gap between the 2 games, but as for everybody, make sure you're late swapping before 8 o'clock, optimizing whatever you have left. You definitely want to handle that.
Yep.
What else should we be touching on here? I'm trying to look through.
Isaiah Jackson, I wanted to ask you about. I get a little bit worried in these kind of game 7s where these backup centers who are good fantasy point per minute guys, they just don't see the same run Because why not run Miles Turner out there more? Why not run Pascal Siakam into the ground? Why not? Like, there's no reason to have to put Isaiah Jackson out there unless things are going well for you and you just want to get him a quick breather and you move on with your life. But I don't know how to necessarily say that you should do this or that with it. It's 3,200 for Isaiah Jackson. Pretty positive he sees the floor, but I don't know what that rotation looks like for him in the second half in a competitive basketball game. And I think those are the kind of questions that are hard to answer concretely. I'm looking at places, 14, 15 minutes isn't out of the realm, but I think that's a little bit surprising to see that kind of a projection on him.
I have 0.
That's what I have, but it freaks me out.
Yeah, I mean, like his path is there pretty easily, but not a guy that I'm very interested in the game 7. Could he go out there and play a bunch because Turner gets into foul trouble or something? Yeah, absolutely. Just not somebody that I'm stressed about today. If he goes crazy, he goes crazy. Like it's just, could he go nuts? Yeah. Could he not play at all and they play Obi Toppin at the 5 today? Yeah, probably. I mean, he played 12 minutes last time out, 6 minutes the game before that. Probably played somewhere around 9 or 10.
I mean, we have Ben Shepherd. We have Isaiah Jackson. We have all these guys down here in the doldrums. Positive leverage for them. Sweet, great. Less than 15% of the time they're working out optimal. So it's so much more difficult to get those guys right than it is these guys who are going to be optimal 30, 40% of the time that we're talking about ad nauseum. So again, it's like one or two of these spots that if you absolutely need to get different with something because you absolutely need to have Ben Shepherd, you absolutely need to have Isaiah Jackson. Sweet, sounds great, but I find it very difficult to rely on them as guys that I would want to have in more than like 1 of 20 or a handful of 150.
6 minutes to go, folks. Drew Stern has an Eric question, I think. I don't know if you have anything.
I do.
Best pick 6 plays.
Yeah, best one, Tyrese Halliburton, 3.5 threes. I like less on that. That is an absolute smash. That was popping on OddsShopper earlier this morning. Took a look at that, intertwined that in a bunch of cards. I still think that it looks pretty good here as I pull up all my pick 6 stuff. I think it's interesting to do a little bit of what Josh talked about with the OG Anunoby deal. He has 24.5 fantasy points. I find it to be pretty interesting to be shorting anything OG Anunoby over there. I think people are going to see some of these fantasy scores. Because there's a lot of public money that's still wrapped up in this. I like the idea of just shorting him, shorting Josh Hart, and hoping that those minutes look very, very different. But less than 38.5 fantasy points for Josh Hart, my favorite play. I think that with Tyrese Halliburton under 3.5 threes, my favorites.
There we go. Malcolm, Eric, which spend up option you underweight to on DraftKings?
Anthony Edwards and Tyrese Halliburton. Both of them I have like virtually 0 of. I have 10% Anthony Edwards. I have 0% Tyrese Halliburton.
Shout out to NewsGod from NewsGod and Eric too. He's kind of cool. And then Jeff Williams with OG and Hart. With OG and Hart play, how does it affect Miles? He plays less.
That is a really good breakdown. Well done.
Yeah, he's 3% owned and probably the most useless player on today's slate if you think that Josh Hart and OG Anunoby are going to play today.
That's the spirit.
That's the answer.
Is what it is. Hey,
if those guys are able to play real minutes, then Miles McBride can't, and he's priced like he can.
Yeah.
Now, when
that's the other part of pick 6 today.
fully.
That's the other part of pick 6 is if you're going to take less on a Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, maybe fire up on Miles McBride 11.5 PRA. There's only 2 plays available for him over there. Got to think that they're both pretty advantageous if you get way, way under that 24.5. Although, again, don't want to go bonkers. Don't want to go crazy with any Miles McBride on pick 6 today. Because, again, I think you're going to get as many minutes of these dudes as possible. But Josh Hart, 38.5 fantasy points is a big number with OG Anunoby in. I think that that's still your best spot to be looking at.
Malakar hit us with the 38-month member message. Shout out to NewsGod and Josh too. He's okay. I'll take it.
It's the nicest Yeah, I was going to say that's a win. That's a win right there.
Okay is about as high of a compliment as I can receive, I think.
That's what my wife tells me after. Well, we're not going to go there.
No, we're not.
That was just perfectly okay. You're welcome, honey.
I'd take okay in that one too. Oh man, we are here now. All right, so I got to ask you the final question, the one that matters most. Who wins?
I think the Knicks win. OG back,
okay.
if he can play 26, 28 minutes, they've played a lot better at home. Not that that is all that surprising. I think this will play competitive more towards those first two games of this series, and less like the game 5 absolute eruption. I'll take the 5 points with my Minnesota Timberwolves.
That's not what I asked you.
I'll take the 5 points with my Minnesota Timberwolves. That's your answer, and you're going to get it.
So the Denver Nuggets win?
Yes, Josh, they probably win.
Pacers Nuggets. Pacers get it done in the Garden today. Nuggets follow it up by defending their home court and sending the Minnesota Timberwolves packing. Yeah. It's over.
Doesn't Jokic want to go play with his horses? Go play with your horses, Jokic. You can have the next month off, bro. Come on.
He's too busy killing wolves. Don't want those wolves to get around those horses.
Just freaking. I really want this. The thing people don't understand is that it's not just the Timberwolves. It's not just the fact that like basketball is my favorite sport and all of a sudden we are catapulted into like the national conversation, the world conversation about potentially one of the best teams going forward. But we have the Minnesota Vikings and the Gary Anderson missed field goal of days of yore. We have had the Blair Walsh project. We've had so many kicking issues with Minnesota over the years. We've had fluky Darren Sharper, who's now, one of the worst people ever, legitimately running back interceptions from Brett Favre to lose NFC championship games. We've had Twins just losing to the Yankees every single time out for the last 2 decades in the playoffs. I just need a break for Minnesota sports one time, dealer. Can we somehow, some way can this be the tide turning moment for Minnesota sports? Can it happen one time, please, God? And Josh, don't say anything.
No, it cannot. Folks, that is going to do it. Get buckled up. Pacers Knicks game 7 coming up right now. Head to Playback if you want to watch the game. We probably have some some VIPs to be able to hand out. Thank you to Better for being the sponsor of this show. Enjoy your basketball. Reminder, guys, no basketball tomorrow. You're going to miss us. So hit the like button on your way out the door for this one. We will talk to you later. Good luck, everybody. Win some money.